making the decisions that are shaping how companies impact the world. In each episode, we sit down with the thought leaders who are proving that building successful businesses and also building a better future don't have to be in conflict. All right, I'm your host, Jeff Davis, co-founder of Circulins, one of the fastest growing digital product passport companies in the world. And our special guest today is Chris Fenwick, head of sustainability for API Group. Welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Well, leadership today isn't just about performance, it's about responsibility too. So let's get into it. I guess Chris, like, what was your first sort of like, oh wow, I see a problem moment that you discovered in your role?
In my role kind of developing or in my role kind of currently?
Let's say first starting out.
First starting out, so I'm an environmental engineer and I got into that Drexel University 2005 and I got into that thinking, hey, I want to be an engineer. It sounds really good. What could I do to help make an impact, do something good, do something positive. And so I got into this and, I got into environmental compliance immediately. Again, I'm thinking I'm doing good. I'm making sure we stay compliant. These regulations were designed to protect, life and health, and I'm a part of that process and making sure my company, wherever I am, is doing it. Fast forward a couple of years, and I start to realize that, especially in the air compliance permitting space, I'm being rewarded or recognized more for how I can maybe not circumvent, but find loopholes in the regulations to allow us to pollute as much as possible, as opposed to,
Yeah.
kind of the intent or the spirit of the role and trying to ensure that you're good stewards.
What's the most surprising thing that you've learned about, trying to go green inside of a big corporation?
The most surprising thing I've learned, I think that honestly, a lot of people really support it, but it is a tough challenge. Values and principles don't always get you all the way where you need to be. And you
Right.
really have to, adapt to, hey, I'm in a business environment. There are many stakeholders, and we got to work together. And people have different things they're accountable for, performance criteria they're accountable for, and I've got to find ways to enable them to achieve theirs while achieving this thing called sustainability or working towards this thing
Yeah.
called.
What now that you've been on the inside for so long, what's something about corporate sustainability that you think outsiders might totally misunderstand?
I think they assume it's, kind of an activist, fluffy, thing that is what we do to do some good in the world, but it's over there. It's not core to the business. I think that's the perception. We're
It's like
doing
a would be nice kind of thing.
would be nice to do if it's convenient, then yeah, what's the motivating factor? And depending on what those motivators are for the business, you do less, you do more. But when you're doing it well and you're really, generating value for the business, you're working together, it's integrated, it's part of the decision making, it's part of the considerations. We don't always get to do every sustainability project because, if we're going to be seen as credible as any other function operating in this company, we've got to play by the same rules, while at the time helping to influence and change the rules and evolve the rules to make the type of work we're doing more, again, a part of how we just do our regular business. And I
Yeah,
think
I was gonna say if there's a CEO that's watching this right now and thinking, well, it sounds good, but we can't afford this stuff. Like, what would you say to that person?
I'd say that if you find the right leader, sustainability leader, who understands the basic triple bottom line, they are going to find the opportunities that drive what's important to your business, while driving sustainability impacts at the same time. And that's really without the profit piece, you're dead in the water. We can't even have influence and make meaningful change if we don't exist anymore, right? So
Right.
that's what I would say, and they'll connect it to your key indicators, margin, revenue, cash flow, whatever is important, whatever you're working towards.
Mhm.
A good sustainability leader can say, "Hey, doing X, Y, Z in this space, applying this principle, engaging here or there, actually is going to drive revenue, or actually it's going to drive cash flow, or whatever it might be, and be able to quantify it and demonstrate it. I'm accretive to our performance. I'm not necessarily a cost.
Yeah. Cool. What kind of person do you feel like is required to lead sustainability in a big company?
You got to be passionate about it. You got to be resilient. You got to
Mhm.
be able to build relationships. And that's the biggest, how I have seen the success that I've had evolve in my time there, and yet still continues to be an opportunity, is that, hey, I need to build relationships with the people I need to execute. Because as a sustainability leader, yeah, there's environment, there's social, there's purchasing, there's IT, like there's all these aspects that make up sustainability comprehensively from, I guess, an ESG perspective. I don't control them. I don't drive safety strategy or procurement strategy. So I've got to work with those leaders to find common
Mhm.
ground and a common path forward that is driving their performance in parallel with sustainability performance, whatever that may.
Yeah. What legacy do you want to leave in this role?
I want to be able to say that my company really made a meaningful impact, and I was a part of it. And when I say meaningful, I mean we were financially successful. We helped our customers attain or supported their sustainability ambitions. We protected our people. We managed our resources effectively, limited our impacts on the environment. I mean, real, true impacts. And I've
Yeah.
and I've built great relationships, and I've developed leaders as I went. Uh,
Yeah, man, that's inspirational right there. Well, seriously, I'm like, I want to clip just that one speech, put some music on it. That was awesome. What's one bold move that you wish more companies were making?
I think a bold move I wish companies would make is we begin to think a bit longer term. And it may not sound bold, but when you get into a corporate space, especially a public company with quarterly earnings and things like that, to think more long term is fairly bold. And I think to Paul Pullman from Unilever, and how they have different rules over there in the EU, around how often you have to report, but he cut from quarterly reporting to either semi-annual reporting or annual reporting, just to demonstrate this is important. We don't necessarily want to be distracted by short term. It's important, but it was a step forward in saying we don't want this to be the sole focus of what we consider success in our business.
Yeah,
And I think that would be, that's a tough move. We've got regulatory requirements around doing something like that in the US, but I love the idea of that. Just the long-term thinking as we make decisions about what's value added for the business. Let's not just focus on quarter to quarter.
yeah. What's the most important metric that you track, you think?
Right now, I think the most important metric that we're starting to track might be the level of engagement in the field on this topic. We're kind of shifting into that as being
How do you measure that?
we measure, we deploy communication, we go out and we engage, and we can measure how many people downloaded a material. We can how many ideas we get coming back up from the field. I think
Mm,
that's really important. API group is leadership and is a crucial aspect of who we are. And in the field, they are the lifeblood of the business. So we're very committed to making sure that they are enabled and capable and have access to the development opportunities that will help them continue to grow and continue to deliver. So we're very focused on that. We're moving in to our fleet, from a more practical perspective. It's another big opportunity for us to drive pure cost savings and pure emissions reductions fuel through just fuel efficiency. So that is a big opportunity for us where we're working with our fleet leaders and our local leaders to drive down how much fuel we use. So that's probably from just a more practical environmental perspective, one of our top priorities and things we're measuring moving forward. We have 16,000 vehicles across the business, and
good Lord.
a lot of opportunity there to
Yeah.
preserve cash flow. Um, the less we're spending on performing the work, the higher our margins go, and then also we are reducing our emissions significantly. Fleet is probably 75% of our total emissions, operational emissions.
Okay. I got you. Yeah, you mentioned the importance of resilience, perseverance. How do you stay optimistic?
I love the people I work with. They sometimes they can be tough and ask really tough questions that challenge me and then challenge my thinking, and it's all helpful and useful for me. But I'm at a company that develops its people, protects its people. People are so important in API Group across all of our operating companies, and it shows. And the relationships I've built really help to soften the challenge, of just trying to advance and mature in the space, because I know that, hey, even though I'm not getting exactly what I might want or moving as fast as I'd like, I've got a solid group of people around me who want me to succeed, but are trying to help me find that synergy that will get us advance our maturity and sustainability while continuing to drive business.
What's a big step that you think every CEO watching this or listening to this should take this year?
I don't know if there's a big step where, it's a tough time for sustainability. I think more so stay the course, be adaptable. If you have to adjust your language a little bit, and that's fine, but stay the course, keep doing the good work. And that can be tough in and of itself. So maybe not a big jump, but a steady, meaningful
Mm.
step, forward, stand on the course. That's what I would.
Yeah, that's good advice. What sustainability leadership mean to you in like one sentence?
Sustainability leadership, one sentence. I'd say continuing to have a material impact and meaningful impact in the areas around environment, social, and governance we can, where we have that opportunity while continuing to drive business and developing people along the way.
One last sentence for you to finish for me. The companies that will win the future are the ones that.
Are thinking long term, listening to following the trend, examining, where this is headed, staying ahead of it, and listening to their customers,
Mm,
because that is going to be the most material motivator that we're going to see. So that's what I would say. Listen to our people, listen to our customers, continue to do the good work.
yeah, awesome.